Asha. Hope you're doing well. I am thrilled to be back with you this morning and have a chance to talk about the mother's mantle, which is an awesome role to be able to play in life. And it's not just for women, so don't think that it is. And we're going to talk about that a little bit this morning. It's also Beltane, which is a festival of fertility for the Wiccan and Neo-Pagan communities. And so that's all centered around, planting seeds, conception, the goddess and the god coming together in their union to begin the cycle of life again this year. So with that, I think that's a great way to launch into the idea of mothering and what it means to be a mother. So in a typical mother's cycle, you have, as I said, conception, and then there's the gestation in the womb, and then birthing, and then nurturing, and then after that you have the release into the world. And it's like that for anything in life that we're creating. So we're going to take a look at how these cycles apply to us in many levels, not just in a physical reality, but in a spiritual reality as well. So there's a few basic principles and steps to the whole cycle of life from the mother's perspective. First, you have to choose what it is that you want to plant. So if you're a gardener, you're choosing the plants, you're choosing the vegetables or the flowers or the trees or whatever it is. And you prepare the environment, you prepare the soil, you check to make sure you have enough sunlight and enough water, and that you're going to, that might even include irrigation, doing some extra work to make things happen in your garden in a way that will yield the best results. And during the growing season, you're also going to have to fertilize and weed and thin and prune. There's so many steps to make sure that you have a good crop or a good bloom or whatever it is that you're trying to achieve. So if you've done these things well in the fall, and of course with a little bit of help from Mother Nature, you will see the yield of the amount of effort that you've put in. It's really pretty simple. What you put in is what you get back out. And the same thing happens in our spiritual lives. We have the opportunity to choose what it is that we want to birth. We have the opportunity to choose the aspects of ourselves and our spiritual life that we want to cultivate. Do we want to create healthy relationships in our lives? Do we want to grow and evolve into someone that has more compassion? Or do we want to create more love or more peace or more joy in our lives, right? And once we actually assess whatever it is that we want to grow and we want to plant in our world, then we have to nurture it. Then we have to assess our environment. We have to look around and see, are the things that we're doing and the people that we're spending time with and our activities and literally the environment around us, are all of those things conducive to whatever it is that we want to grow? If you want to grow peace, you probably don't want to take on 25,000 different projects that are all difficult, complex, and spinning all the time. You have to make a choice. And so if you choose peace, you have to set up your environment in a way. You have to learn to thin things out and pare things down and be able to let go of some things that are possibilities or that may look good as they're sprouting. Because if you allow, just like in the garden, if you allow them all to grow, they'll be spindly and weak. They'll be fighting for resources, which could be our time in our personal endeavors and the spiritual world. So there is the world of energy and time and resources and nurturing, and it's all part of the bigger picture, and we need to keep these things in mind as we're making our choices. So part of mothering is having discernment, right? We have to know when is the time to act and when is the time to step out of the way and watch. And with our spiritual endeavors or our ideas, our personal projects, same thing. We have to know when is the right time to act and what is going to be the most beneficial action and when is the time to not act, but to get out of the way and let the universe or the cosmic mother, or whatever you want to call it, step in on your behalf and co-create, right? We're co-creators. We're not completely creators in our own. There is the magic in the universe that makes everything happen, even just birthing literally the human conception and birth cycle. It's magical. You know, we don't do that all ourselves. We don't tell each cell what to do and where to go. And in our lives and in our evolution, we have to be the same way, and we have to trust and know, just like we trust the process in our bodies or in our gardens, we do our part, and we have to know what is not our part and what we can't do and what we should not try to micromanage, so that we can allow nature to work her magic and we can allow the divine to step in and feed us and nurture us and give us opportunities that we would never have seen otherwise. Often those opportunities look like challenges even, which may not be as pleasant as what we originally had in mind, but when we are seeking a certain evolution or a certain outcome, it gives us a chance to experience what we need and face what we need to be able to gain wisdom and perspective to be able to actually achieve that goal or that heart's desire that we put out. So I see the cycle of the mother and birth and nurturing and growth and protection and ultimately releasing that creation into the world as directly relevant, whether you're in the physical plane or the spiritual plane. It takes both. They are not separate. They cannot be separated. We are intertwined between the unseen and the seen, the physical and the non-physical. And it's important that we remember this as we do our part in the physical world and we take action in the physical world. And we also allow room for the non-physical world to work with us and give us the things that we do not have control over ourselves. So if we nurture our projects or our intentions or our spiritual growth, and we also at the same time allow room for mistakes, errors, questions, doubt, struggle, challenges, that helps us to grow deeper in our spirituality. And a good analogy of this is in the garden. If you water your plants every day a little bit to just try to keep them moist, they will never be able to grow deep roots. If you want to have deep roots, you have to give them more water in one sitting, and then you let them dry up some in between, and you allow that variation or that adversity, and that's life. Without the adversity, we don't grow deep roots. So it's important that we remember what our ultimate goal is, and we're always focused on that we want to attain or achieve or evolve into, so that we can make decisions and choices along the way that are going to line up with that ultimate goal, even when it's not simple or easy to do. So can we control everything? No, we absolutely cannot. We do our part, and then we get out of the way and we allow for co-creation. That's the best we can do. That's our job of doing the action part, the planning part, the preparing part, and the receiving part. You cannot create what you want in your life if you don't prepare to receive it when it comes. So in the beginning, you get an idea or a concept of what your heart's desire is, and you have to prepare to receive the wisdom, the challenges, all of the things that are going to be required. You must be willing to receive those things along the way in order to grow what it is that you're growing. And the same thing happens with children. You know, we prepare them to be able to receive and to learn and to grow. And we need to be able to allow them room to be able to exercise their own autonomy, their own learning, their own unfolding, whether it looks like what we expected it to look like or not. And be able to discern whether to step in or get out of the way. So let's talk about discernment for a minute. If we don't allow for the adversity, like in the garden, the dry with the longer, deeper watering in our lives, if we don't allow for that, and we don't allow for that in our children's lives, they're not going to be prepared. And let's say that the child is actually a project. How many times have I seen a nonprofit get in trouble because the founder had this great idea, they got it off the ground, they got it launched, they got it rolling, and then there's a point where they're so tight-knit on their vision and what it had to look like and how it had to be that the project wants to outgrow them, and they won't allow it to happen. And they can even kill that project by not neglect, overbearing, micromanaging of the aspects of what it is that they're trying to create. So as a mother, I think that is also one of the most difficult things to do. Probably the most difficult thing to do is to watch your child or your project get off in the weeds and you want to jump in and save the day, and it's really not in the best interest. And I think it's the same in our spiritual evolution as well. If we constantly had saving all the time whenever anything is uncomfortable, we would not grow. We would not have the opportunities. Carol O'Connell used to say, all things are working together for my good. And I loved that because it gave me an opportunity to always stop when I was having a moment and I was disgusted with something, or I was not satisfied with something that came up, and I could take another look at it and say, okay, if all things are working together for my good, what is the opportunity here? What could possibly happen? And as soon as I let go of all my angst or resentment or whatever it was around that thing that was happening, it would usually resolve much easier than if I fought it and I was aggravated with it. So I'm going to just close with this. That is like a speed review of all of the aspects of, or the main phases of being a mother and the components. And in closing, I just want to say that, again, being a mother is not just for women. It's about birthing an idea or a project or our own evolution, in addition to potentially little beings. So anyone can carry the mother's mantle in a positive and healthy way that leads us to greater reward and a greater unfolding. And my wish for you today is that you can see this sacred cycle of motherhood in your life around you every day, and in all of her incarnations, whether it's figurative or it's literal, it exists all around us. And if we can be present to that joy of creation in every moment, and if we get off track, maybe, spend a moment and then come back to remember, oh yeah, this is what creation looks like. This is what unfolding looks like. I'm not completely in control. And that's okay, because the world would be pretty boring if I was completely in control. So with those extra elements coming in, what can I make of it? What can I take of it, receive from it, and how can this turn into a celebration? So with that, I hope you enjoy the creative cycle and start thinking about what it is you want to create in this growing season, this year. Happy Beltane. We're a little bit late, but happy Beltane. And good luck, enjoy, and I look forward to seeing what you harvest later on in the year. Thank you. Happy Mother's Day.